design that we know so well. That Abide With Me has been the official FA Cup final hymn since the 1920s, and another tradition properly restored. The big day is now in its standalone position again after the regular season is completed, unlike in the last 3 or 4 years. And Jim Beglin alongside me. Jim, you know what it's like to be down in the dressing room there as a player. You've won the FA Cup. What does it take? What are they thinking now?
Well, everybody will be they'll have received their final instruction now, so it's very much just trying to concentrate on the discipline involved now and the job they have to do. Obviously there are many butterflies about, there's a tension, but you're just desperate for the game to get going and for the ceremonies to be over with as quickly as possible. You just want to get into it, get your first touch right, and you're off and running.
It is the 133rd FA Cup final, the 8th at the new Wembley. The first
Wembley,
ever
let's
for Hull
get
City.
ready for FA
Arsenal's 18th, equaling the all-time record in the competition. Previously, the prerogative of Manchester United. Of pyrotechnics. Arsenal fans, young and old, knowing that their side are the overwhelming favourites. It's not always a blessing in this competition, as we saw a year ago when Manchester City were supposed to wipe the floor with Wigan Athletic and hold up the trophy. And you all know that what happened was nothing like the script. The Duke of Cambridge is a real football fan.
Aston Villa.
Aston Villa indeed. I've grown up with the thoughts that sometimes the royal family haven't been too keen to grace this wonderful occasion with their presence, but they've got somebody now who'll say yes every time he's asked. Arsenal royalty in the shape of Arsene Wenger shaking the hands of the chairman of the Football Association, Greg Dyke, who's been very much in the news recently. Curtis Davis doing the honours for Hull City. Hull are guaranteed Europa League football even if they lose today. So, apart from reaching their first major final, they will play in a European competition for the very first time as well next season. Well, the formalities very nearly over, but the stadium will soon rise for the national anthem.
Led by Leona Lewis, who is accompanied by the band of the Welsh Guards.
Arsenal are the overwhelming favourites. They've done the Premier League double over Hull during the past season. 2-0 at home, 3-0 away only last month. And they have finished with more than double Hull's points total, finishing 4th to Hull's 16th. But league form often counts for very little when the FA Cup comes around.
Starting with Arsenal. Number 21, Lucas Fabianski. Number 3,
Team news for you. Lucas Fabianski has been the second-choice Premier League keeper, but first in line in the domestic cups, and Arsene Wenger sticks to that policy on the big day. He rested some players for their final league game at Norwich 6 days ago, but back in come Mertesacker and Santi Cazorla. It's probably the last Gunners game for Bakary Sagna, who is set to sign for Manchester City.
Yeah, a lineup we expected for Arsenal, but for me, Ramsey again can be the key contributor. He won't just sit in midfield. We know he loves to get forward, and he has real finishing class in his game now. And those three in front, Cazorla, Ozil, Podolski, we'll see a lot of interchanging of positions, and all geared towards getting something for Giroud. They'll be looking to try and stretch that whole defence as much as they can.
Steve Bruce has made 4 changes from the semi-final side that played here in April. Alan McGregor is fit to be back in goal. The manager's son, Alex, comes into a 3-man central defence in which James Chester has defied the doctors to recover from a hamstring injury. And Stephen Quinn and Matty Fryatt, both scoring substitutes in that semi-final win against Sheffield United. They have earned the chance to start.
Yeah, having tried 4-4-2 when the teams met last month at the KC Stadium, Steve Bruce has kind of reverted to the 3 at the back, which they're familiar with. El Mohammadi and Rosenior in the wing-back positions will be expected to tuck in, make it a back 5 at times, and indeed drive the likes of Cazorla and Podolski to do what they don't want to do and chase back. And I think they'll be looking to get Huddleston and Livermore very much on the ball in midfield, and Myler we expect to be the one to support Fryatt.
For Alex Bruce, well, Nigel Clough played under Brian Clough, his father, in the final of 1991. And of course it was Nigel Clough, the manager, that Hull beat here in the semi-final in that win over Sheffield United. A thrilling game. Arsenal's semi wasn't so thrilling. They had to go to penalties against the holders Wigan. Steve Bruce has played in this competition with distinction. He has a couple of winners' medals, but he's also got memories of being told at the old Wembley in 1996 that he wasn't just playing, he wasn't going to play in the final against Liverpool. He wasn't even going to be on the bench, and that really his Manchester United career was over that day. They did lift up the trophy without him. I think, Jim, it's more about Arsene Wenger 9 years without a trophy than Arsenal, because teams that go a long time often change their managers. They've stuck with Arsene, and well, he'll want to put that barren run behind him now. Well,
true, I think it is a case for Arsene Wenger. It's the final he dare not lose. The pressure really is solely on the Gunners. I think if Steve Bruce and Hull are to find a way for FA Cup success now, then they can't afford to carry anybody. Everybody has got to execute the game plan to perfection.
Hull City to kick off. Lee Probert is the referee. Great day for all the officials, pinnacle in their professions. Hull have played here at the new Wembley twice and won on both occasions. A playoff final to get them in the Premier League for the first time, top division for the first time 6 years ago. And of course that seesawing semi-final against Sheffield United 5 weeks ago. We're off at Wembley. It's not particularly sunny, but it's pretty warm, almost muggy. Here's Leroy Rosenior. Liam Rosenior, rather. Leroy, he'll be looking on proudly, his dad, Liam Rosenior, one of the wing-backs in this formation that Steve Bruce is starting with. He's going to leave the free kick for one of the 3, the captain, Curtis Davis. Matty Fryatt up alongside Mertesacker. Mohammadi beaten in the air by Podolski. Very Very interesting to have the two Tottenham men, great rivals of Arsenal, in the whole midfield. Tom Huddleston, who's left Spurs now on a proper transfer. Jake Livermore's on loan and will go back to White Hart Lane. He's got the opportunity to go back as a real hero if he helps Hull beat the Gunners here.
You mentioned the kind of seesaw semi-final they had, and first half they weren't too good on the ball. And Steve Bruce always takes a pride in that, so you would feel that Huddleston and Livermore are very much key towards helping Hull in that regard.
Here goes Rosenior. Sagna gets a foot in. His professionalism totally trusted by Arsene Wenger. He's made it clear he's run down his contract. And all the talk is of that move maybe in the next few days, a deal done with Manchester City.
Yeah, just to point out as well, we speculated that Myler might be the one that would be closest to fly out.
Yeah.
But little Stephen Quinn is the one who just seems to be given free rein here, Mark. Just play by instinct, get a feel for it. And obviously he'll be asked to tuck in, I'm sure, on Arteta when he gets on it deep in the Arsenal midfield.
You feel the longer it goes on, and Arsenal haven't broken through, the more they will feel the heat of the situation more than the heat of the day. The pressure of being favourites. Here's the raiding El Mohammadi, and it has landed on the top of the Arsenal net.
Yeah, for
it was
corner.
Deflected.
Yeah, Podolski did a very good job, because El Mohammadi is quite good at that. And that's a big part, I think, of the whole game plan today. Those two wing-backs have got to look to drive forward like that and make Podolski and indeed Cazorla on the other flank do what they don't normally like.
All the three centre-backs are up. Myler in there as well. Fry just loitering like the fox in the box that he is inside the goal area, closest to Fabianski. It's one that's set up for Huddleston. Oh, and it's ended up in the back of the net. James Chester got the touch. Well, it wasn't quite the route that they anticipated, but it's given Hull City, the underdogs, what could turn out to be a famous first goal. Wow, what a start.
Well, what a start for Hull. I mean, again, you can see Arsenal mainly marking zonally, and they've just completely left space on the edge of the box for the shot to come in. But I think Chester does remarkably well, because this comes at him so quickly, and all he does is redirect it, because the pace is already on it, and he just has to steer it, and it's out of Fabianski's reach. There's nothing the goalkeeper can do about that, and Arsenal just got caught cold and didn't defend it well.
Jim, he shouldn't be playing. He's the one he was ruled out. Steve Bruce saw him running on Monday at the start of this week, said, well, you better do a bit more. You might be able to train with us. He trained on Thursday. And he's in the team because he has been their most consistent defender this season. And now he's a Wembley goal scorer. This is what? The FA Cup. It writes chapters like this. It's just an improbable story. And it might not be an impossible dream for Hull City.
Well, let's see how it develops from here. But yeah, Ben Watson was the hero last season.
Late.
And maybe, yeah,
late.
maybe it will be Chester today.
Alex Bruce with the header. Well, there's no doubt that Huddleston's going for goal with the shot, but that's what happens if you fire it into the danger area. It can go in off anybody, really, but it went in off a teammate this time, steered in by Chester. Sagna's cross scooped up by Alan McGregor. Well, is it going to be another day of Wembley woe for Arsenal? Very similar to 3 years ago in the League Cup, where they were strong favourites just as today to beat Birmingham City. Arsene Wenger's side crumbled on the day, only went home with losers' medals. Yeah, so there's a long, long way to go.
There is indeed. And Obafemi Martins did the main damage that day with the winner for Birmingham, of course. But yeah, if there is a consolation for Arsenal having conceded so early, they've got a lot of time to work their way back into the contest.
You look at all the great upsets of the last 30 or 40 years, they've usually been 1-0. Well, it's a long time for Hull to make this a 1-0 triumph. Wimbledon against Liverpool, of course Wigan last season, Sunderland against the star-studded Leeds United in 1973, Southampton against Manchester United in '76. I don't think he can quite believe it, James Chester.
But I love to see imagination like this, because it was beautifully worked. And you know, when a team does mark zonally, play around them, just play away from where all the positioning is. And Tom Huddleston was able to get his effort away because of that, and Chester immaculately followed it up. It was beautifully guided.
Is it all going wrong for Arsene Wenger again? A shake of the head, I'm sure, will be followed by more positive thoughts than that.
Well, we were speaking beforehand, Martin, and in a lot of the big fixtures away from the Emirates this season, quite a few of Arsenal players didn't turn up, and they got well beaten in quite a few of those. Now, this is a huge test of character, having conceded so early. Arsene Wenger will want to see how much spirit there really is in this side now.
And how much confidence there is in the side, because lads like Kieran Gibbs have been at the club a few years now. They have felt the pain of the lack of gain, if you like.
Yeah, but the fact that they've come into this final on a pretty good run, 5 straight Premier League wins,
including beating Hull.
Yeah, confidence will be decent. It shouldn't be too problematic. But the thing is now, Hull might have come in with much lesser confidence, but that goal has changed that straight away.
That's Myler going for it. The set piece threatens to undo Arsenal again. Quinn, good play from him. And it's nearly 2, and it is! It's Curtis Davis this time. The defenders are doing the job, and Arsenal have got no defence against them. This is the FA Cup, you better believe it.
Goal scorer for Hull City, number 6.
Arsenal have been flat-footed and asleep at the back. Myler almost beat Sanya, but doesn't Quinn do extremely well to get it back in? Fabianski does very well too to deal with Bruce's effort, and it just falls perfectly. The first one reacting is the skipper, Curtis Davis. It took a little deflection, the header as well, and cut the upright. It wasn't Fabianski, but he can do nothing about the follow-up again, because Davis is just perfectly positioned, and this is just a nightmare start. It brings back memories of Stamford Bridge and Anfield this season.
Well, Curtis Davis scored in the 5th round win against Brighton. He scored in the quarter-final win against Sunderland, and he's now scored to give Steve Bruce, well, it's more than a dream, if there is such a thing. It's an unbelievable beginning for the overwhelming underdogs. Underdogs with a real bite in them, though. Arteta. I'm scratching my head. I go back a long way watching FA Cup finals. I seem to remember Sheffield Wednesday being 2-0 up in 1966 against Everton and ending up losing 3-2. That was an interesting year. Now, what have Arsenal got about them?
Well, touch has got to be better than that from Podolski. They just need to try and find the composure in very quickly.
Sanya, James Chester and Curtis Davis have put themselves on the roll of honour of scorers in an FA Cup final.
And son of Steve, you know, almost pulled it off just before Davis did.
Well, now we'll see whether this formation, which I heard 1 or 2 people when the team was announced saying, oh, Steve Bruce has just invited pressure here. He's gone with 3 at the back. Arsenal will get a lot of the ball. It'll be held against the Hull manager if he has a bad day here. Well, he's obviously picked the defenders to come and win the match.
Well, as I said at the start, Martin, you know, they're familiar with the system. It's not as if he's gone to something new. And I think, you know, having played a month ago at the KC Stadium with 4-4-2 and tried to be aggressive and bully Arsenal a little bit in that game, and it backfired. I didn't ever think he'd go with 2 out-and-out strikers today.
Myler. Well, I guess if the Hull fans are having negative thoughts, they'll be thinking, well, it was I've used the term seesaw, a roller coaster ride in the semi-final, and getting a good start, getting a good first half doesn't guarantee you end up with the right result.
Well, I think Hull knew that the pressure was on Arsene Wenger and indeed Arsenal. And I think psychologically the pressure on Hull themselves was the Premier League. And they stayed in the division, they achieved what they wanted at the start of the season. This is bonus territory. Steve Bruce told them, go and seize the moment. And psychologically, they're just playing without any fear.
And they've certainly seized the early moments. Arsenal 0, Hull City 2. That'll be a corner, won't it? It is. Up goes Davis again.
Yeah, and again we're going to have a situation where you've got Arsenal already positioned zonally, standing still. While you've got a lot of Hull players who are going to be making runs from the edge of the box now. They'll have the momentum and the leaping power.
Well, it's only Alex Bruce who hasn't got in on the scoring act of the 3 central defenders so far. And well, he nearly did. He very nearly did.
Well, this is almost becoming shambolic now because Arsenal just aren't attacking the ball. And again, there's more aggression from Hull. And Kieran Gibbs was well positioned and he dealt with it. That's what he's there for, but Arsenal have got to start competing aerially. It's too easy for Hull City.
More pressure on. And again, Arsenal do not win it. But how important will be that save on the line from Kieran Gibbs to stop Alex Bruce making it 3-0 in 13 minutes. We do have to go back to 1998, the FA Cup final then, to find Arsenal's last conventional win at a Wembley, the old Wembley. As I say, they did get through the semi-final on penalties. They played at the old stadium for one season in the Champions League for their group games. That wasn't a waving of a magic wand. You mentioned the League Cup final of 2011 where they were beaten by Birmingham. Here's Santi Cazorla. Free kick. Fouled by El Mohammadi. Ozil. Now Ramsey is back in fitness and in form. Sanya.
Yeah, and I think we should never underestimate as well how good a finisher he's become. I mean, his goal last week at Norwich just kind of sums that up. Now he's very, very composed when he gets in and around opposition boxes. He scored some spectacular goals this season.
Well, they're going to need any sort of goals now, Arsenal, from anybody in a red and white shirt. Arteta.
Well, and as you'd expect, Martin, Arsenal trying to reply now, but, you know, Hull are pumped and full of energy levels and everybody attacking the ball. And there's good discipline from them, but that time it was deemed to be a foul from Alex Bruce, just a little too rash in trying to pinch it from Santi Cazorla, and he does catch him from behind.
In only a couple of the last 14 FA Cup finals, at the old Wembley and here have both teams scored. But here's a chance for Arsenal to make both teams scoring in not much more in the opening quarter of an hour. Alan McGregor, the goalkeeper, might have missed the semi-final here, but he did play for Scotland against England right at the start of the season back in August. So it is the little Spaniard, Santi Cazorla! Arsenal 1, Hull 2. A classic free kick. And we're heading for a classic FA Cup final. Nothing McGregor could do about it.
Well, I wonder with the goalkeeper, because he set his wall up to guard the right post, and essentially he's got to look after the other side. Now, he's on that side and he should be dealing with it. The problem for him, and you see it so often, Martin, is he takes a step to his right. But even having done that, I still think he should have got a little bit more on this and helped it on its way. It's a poor leap from him, and even though it is a good free kick and well placed from Cazorla, I think Alan McGregor has helped his cause.
He knows it.
Yeah, he knows it.
And he's been out. It's quite a nasty injury that he had. It was a kidney injury. You just wonder how much of the hard graft that goalkeepers do week in, week out, day in, day out, to get that sort of sharpness, how much he's just a little bit down on that, and whether that was a factor in the way that Cazorla got the better of him.
I just think sometimes, Martin, goalkeepers nowadays try to do a bit too much. If you set your wall up to guard one post, I think you have to trust it. And you have to command the other. And he didn't do that. He had a doubt, he moved to his right, and he couldn't react.
But take nothing away from Cazorla. Put it into the right sort of area, and now suddenly those Hull City smiles are being replaced by frowns. Alex Bruce trying to do the organisation here. A chance for Arsenal to level it up inside 20 minutes.
Who says the FA Cup has lost its touch? Not for me.
Not too many people I know. It's a brilliant competition, rightly revered around the world. There's Mertesacker. Sanya had a stretch at it. Not complaining.
Mohammadi is struggling as he tried to clear that.
The referee has stopped it, which he is entitled to do. But still, no one has ever quite sorted this out. It should be the referee's call. Some players believe in playing some etiquette regulations. Yeah. It's margins, fine margins, but as you say, Jim, from McGregor's point of view, he got the margins wrong.
Yeah, he knew it as well. We could see it from his reaction. He was angry with himself. He didn't trust the fact that the wall would do that part of the job. And I think even though he readjusted, his leaping, he didn't get any power in his jump, and that was the problem. And I think he was irritated with himself for that. But listen, Cazorla hit it nice and true, and it did the trick.
The concern is for Ahmed El Mohammadi. To be fair, Steve Bruce was telling me about an hour before kickoff, as Arsene Wenger wonders whether Hull are going to have to make a change. But Steve Bruce was saying, I've got too many fit players. It's been a tough week. I've had to leave some out. Yeah,
and that's the problem for El Mohammadi. He just kicks up into Bakary Sagna, who's just trying to keep it alive. And it seems to be that right foot that's the problem.
Paul McShane is a defender available on the bench, although he'd be perhaps more used to playing in as one of the back three. And Mina Figueroa, you have to feel for him. He was with Wigan last season, got injured between the semi-final and the final. This time he's been left out from the semi-final to the final, but he is amongst the substitutes for Hull today.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's just a kind of a little impact injury for El Mohammadi, who's back on the pitch now. You just kind of need a couple of minutes to shake the likes of that type of knock-off.
We've already equalled the most goals in a final at the new Wembley. A couple of 2-1 Chelsea wins.
I think another important thing for Hull City now, and we saw it in the build-up for the free kick to get Arsenal back into this game, is they were just beginning to drop a little too deep, and the message seems to have come out to try and press it a bit higher, squeeze it a little more.
It's a lovely ball by Giroud to Podolski. Ozil's there, he got in front of his man too. It was a chance. Cazorla, the force is with Arsenal at the moment. The lead is with Hull City, but it's been halved. Myler. Rossinia.
Yeah, Mertesacker got the decision. It just came back off the Irishman. And the other thing I've got to say, Martin, I mean, this is all about anticipation. I mean, it's lovely hold-up play, and the ball in from Podolski is excellent, it really is, but look at the anticipation from Ozil, saw where it was going, and Alex Bruce was on his heels then too. But I just think it's been a wonderful start tempo-wise. There's a great urgency and a purpose from both teams.
Chester breaks for Quinn. Huddleston. Rossinia. Mertesacker's header. And certainly Santi Cazorla is in the mood. Had a big part in the earlier rounds too. Scoring in the win against Tottenham. And then again against Coventry in the fourth round. Arsenal have never been outside of North London to get to this final in North London. That's happened for them before, back in 1950 when they won the FA Cup. Well, the referee being surrounded here to try and take some stern action against Rossinia.
He's fractionally late. He took a chance, he gambled on just being able to pinch it ahead of Bakary Sagna.
It's difficult for the referees in the cup final. We've seen it down the years. They want to give everybody a chance. There have been very few dismissals on this prestigious occasion.
Yeah, I mean, the leading leg does the damage, but what's the leading leg here? It plants itself on the ground, and it's his trailing knee which comes into the back of Sagna, so it's not the most severe tackle you've ever seen.
And it's not the most severe punishment that you've ever seen.
True.
Of course, there was a sending off a year ago. Pablo Zabaleta. As Wigan overturned the odds in a similar fashion to the way Hull City are trying to do it today. But Ben Watson scored when there was no time for recovery, really, for Manchester City. Different story here. In by Cazorla. Ozil. That might have been going wide, but no taking of a chance there by Curtis Davis.
No. Arsenal are not happy about the fact that the ball was already out of play before it was moved a lot further out of play by El Mohammadi then.
Giroud. All trying to play on the break. And the play broken up by Arteta. It's what those defending midfield players tend to have to do when the counter-attacks are on. A lot of counter-attacking football these days, Jim.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a tough job. You know, do you commit or do you just try and hold your ground and track the runner back? And Arteta got it slightly wrong. I think this is an intelligent position that Ozil has picked up on the edge of the box. It's not his greatest strike because it's into the ground, but it was on target and needed to be dealt with.
But they, bit by bit, are working their way back into the FA Cup final. Arsenal. Each club given 25,000 tickets, which is, well, just scratches the surface of the demands, really. A lot of the football family, as the Football Association call members of their clubs from not just the top divisions, but all the way down into the non-league scene, are rewarded for their involvement in football by having the chance to buy tickets. But it does look to me as though quite a few got into areas that would be neutral, wearing either red and white or black and amber. Davis, Livermore, Davis. Lee Probert getting in the way, and it allows Cazorla to step in. Here's Podolski. Well, there was a diagonal on, then it wasn't spotted that Ramsey wanted. Kieran Gibbs will have to sprint back here. Preferred to Nacho Monreal. It's been quite a battle of the left-backs for Arsenal this season.
Yeah, a little frustration from Jake Livermore then, who broke the play up in midfield and made a good burst forward. Just went a little too far with a foul on Kieran Gibbs.
Sagna. Zola let it run, and Ramsey loves to get into these areas. Giroud is trying to steer it using the defender as a screen. That's Podolski, and well, we'll never know where it might have ended up. Deflected for a corner.
Well, I don't know whether Giroud got a shout or not, but there was always the chance to just play it to his left with Cazorla coming in. He just went for the quick shot, and we know Podolski can unleash great power with that left foot. And all of a sudden, Hull are just kind of trying to get anything behind an Arsenal attack.
It's more the sort of game we expected at the moment territorially, isn't it? But of course, Arsenal having to repair serious damage. Played away by Alex Bruce well. Everyone dropping deep for Hull City. Mertesacker staying forward. It came off Chester's head, pursued by Giroud. Well, he could have settled for the corner then.
Well, I think it's a wrong decision. He actually could put his left foot on it there, Martin, and then just turned, because I don't think he appreciated how much time he actually had. He was completely free, and he could have controlled it.
Well, one or two of his teammates going exactly that, but they're the ones who should perhaps be telling him that the position that he was in.
Do you know, I wonder, would you hear it with this noise at the moment, because
no.
It's up there.
Oh, and there's Giroud jumping in powerfully and also landing, or catching Davis around the thigh. It's a bruised thigh muscle there. Dreaded dead leg. It might be a problem for later on.
Yeah, I just wonder, was it the landing more than the contact? It didn't seem that strong.
Oh, what a fantastic first, not quite half an hour, 30 seconds or so away from it, but you get my drift. Absolutely definitive FA Cup football.
Enthralling.
Sagna. Ramsey has played in an FA Cup final before. He came on for his first club, Cardiff City, 6 years ago.
Now, again, there are Arsenal appeals for maybe a yellow card to be shown by Lee Probert, but again, the referee says no. And there has been a real leniency about him in just trying to let the game quicken as much as he can and not hold it up too much.
Well, in Premier League football and maybe in the early rounds of the Cup, you get assessed as a referee. When you get the FA Cup final, it's your day, really. Referee how you think fit. And I don't think the game has suffered from Lee Probert's leniency, if you want to call it that, in the opening half an hour, even though Arsene Wenger might be saying, well, there could have been an extra card or two.
I like to see that, Martin, too. I think some referees can maybe overdo it in the early part of the game, and then they're left in a very awkward position come the second half.
Mertesacker allowed to travel forward and go on into the box. Sanya. Ramsey. Sanya. Stopped by the senior.
Well, those 2 goals Hull scored seem like a long time ago now all of a sudden, because once Cazorla fired the free kick in, it's been all Arsenal, and they're just looking to try and prize Hull open, drag them out of position and capitalise. Maybe now.
And Mertesacker has got a couple of goals in this stadium. One for Arsenal in the semi-final and a winner for Germany against England. Cazorla takes. Oof. Well, you mentioned his volleying skills earlier, Aaron Ramsey.
That's about 3 or 4 times now the Hull City have managed to get bodies in the way of Arsenal efforts from around the box.
Something that Arsenal conspicuously failed to do in the first 10 minutes of the match at their end.
Absolutely. It was a horror show. Nobody was taking command at the back.
Arteta. Giroud trying to get away. Knocked up by that spare man, Bruce. How difficult is it for your dad to pick you for an FA Cup final? Not always a regular, is he, Alex Bruce, in the Premier League team? When they go to 3 at the back, quite often he is the extra man, as has been the case today.
Yeah. Well, I think overall, I think he's done pretty well, and he's certainly been effective in the opposition's box so far. But he has given the free kick away that's got Arsenal back into this.
Ramsey, Sanya. Here's Koscielny, who's had such a fine season. Mertesacker is probably more the player now for Arsenal that everyone thought he would be when he first came into the English game. Such a big reputation from Germany.
But to have that many caps, I think we always felt that he was probably going to come through.
Sanya. Headed by Huddleston, clearance from Myler. Matty Fright, who hasn't had too many touches, but he could get a crucial one in the penalty area. He's a natural goal getter. He's done very well in this competition. Lee Probert letting Hull play on might turn out to be a very good decision. Senior. Fright. Trying to make a real impression now. Away by Mertesacker. Taken down with that silky touch that Tom Huddleston's always had. Bruce. Livermore. This is a little bit more like the first 10 minutes of the game. And Giroud defending from the front. Davis. Messina will keep it in. Quinn.
Yeah, and this kind of passing now, and their ability to retain it for Hull City should kind of help confidence a little more again.
Fright chasing that, thinking he was going to prevent a goal kick, but in fact he's been flagged offside.
Yeah, and just looking at Friat on the previous attack, it was almost as if he was looking for the set piece, looking for the corner, as opposed to trying to work something into the box. And so I'd imagine Hull have spent a considerable amount of time just working on those set pieces in the build-up to this.
Away by Davis. Hull's free kick. Don't get too many goals in cup finals like the one we saw from Cazorla. Remember Stuart Pearce, the final that we've been mentioned because Nigel Clough played for Brian Clough, and they didn't win that, did they?
Yeah, I remember Gaza in a semi-final at Wembley.
Set plays have been very important in how the scoring has gone. Here's Myler. Keeps getting a header in. Oh, there aren't many players about who can do that, but Tom Huddleston is certainly one of them.
Agreed. He plays the game at his own pace at times, but boy, has he got ability, and great technical ability at that. But as is always the case with a bouncing ball, just as you strike it, it's always likely to rise.
Mertesacker. Arsenal trying to rise from the ashes of being 2 early goals down. Gibbs. Ozil can't get away. Quinn, nicely done. It's the furthest forward for it, so he needs some help. It comes from Myler, and he wasn't the only one. Quinn. Myler a little bit into trouble. Arteta knows a thing or two about winning challenges in that sort of area. And Giroud was waiting and he had no time.
And reminiscent of what his father did once upon a time when he played. No nonsense. Alex Bruce. Giroud waited, he didn't.
Yep. And Steve Bruce looked a lot like Alex Bruce, didn't he, when he was starting out those days at Gillingham and Norwich City for the heyday of his career with Manchester United, winning the FA Cup in 1990 and 1994.
Yeah, and it's the one thing that probably helps the whole defence today against Arsenal, in that we know Walcott has been a long-term injury, but Oxlade-Chamberlain not involved today.
No, and, but for England fans around the world worrying about his place in the squad, from what I understand, he is going to be okay. It's going to give him a couple more weeks, you know.
But the word I was going to go on to mention was pace, or lack of it as it is now in the Arsenal side. I mean, Hull won't be overly worried that anybody is going to be able to outrun them in behind.
Jack Wilshere, another England squad man, is fit enough to be on the bench. He hasn't started a game for a long time, but came back into Premier League football last weekend at Norwich, which was the 5th win of the 5 in a row you were talking about earlier, Jim. Hull, since the semi-final, 5 league games, 1 draw, 4 defeats.
Yeah.
But Steve Bruce is saying we need to switch back on. They've certainly done that. Nothing like an FA Cup final to focus the mind, particularly when it's the first ever in the club's history.
Yeah, and the one thing I'd say about Arsenal still is that, yes, they've worked their way back into the game, but they haven't taken it on, and we're not seeing that fluid passing and movement that they're capable of, and all their little technicians linking up. All have done well to stifle that.
I think part of the reason is they know they have to defend as a team. We've seen Giroud hunting down from the front, and having a decent amount of the ball. The shape is not making his... Arsene Wenger tends not to change his tactics too much, whatever the opposition do, believing in his own players, his own method, plan A, if you like. Here comes Koscielny.
The problem there was everybody just ran away from him and gave him a tougher ball to try and pick out.
I think Mertesacker thought he was fouled by Fryer, but referee Probert didn't.
I think Frye's doing well, Martin, because he's managed to hold it up, and he's used his body extremely well at times. Good strength.
It's amazing. He hasn't started a Premier League game all season. Here he is in the FA Cup. That's partly down to Nikita Jelavic and Shane Long. The main striker's been cup-tied.
I'm a little surprised that Jake Livermore there. I thought he might have just taken Arteta on, because for a moment he got behind the Spaniard and he had a good yardage on him, and I think he kind of helped his cause in letting him back in. I think he could have driven that into the box.
Here's Gibbs. 5 minutes plus added time to half-time. And a wonderful first half. The 2014 FA Cup final. The whole competition is in robust health. Ozil. Giroud asking for handball, getting it. Brought out by Myler. Oh, and Livermore might have been on for a ball in behind there. That's what he's just gesturing. size of Wembley, big playing area, the warmth of the day, the tension of an FA Cup final. Something the players have to deal with as each half comes to a close, and possibly, of course, the need for extra time.
Yeah, and the intensity that began this game is still there. It might have slowed a little, and I think it's a very valid point you make, Martin. At a certain time in the second half, people will start sagging.
Sanya deflects off Huddleston. There's plenty of him to get in the way of a cross. Fryatt done very well again. Koscielny's very quick recovering. Very quick. Super
defence, really is. Fryatt looked as if he had a yard there, and Koscielny was extremely fast in recovery.
Minutes. A task for Hull to make sure they go in at half-time with a lead. And Arsenal would be absolutely thrilled if they could wipe out a 2-goal deficit before the break. You'd think the psychology of the day would certainly swing their way if that happens.
Just Hull City need to take a little bit of care, look after the ball at the moment. It just eases a little bit of pressure, and it'll just grow the confidence some more. They should believe in themselves, because they can certainly play a bit.
Fryatt penalised again. He's not the biggest striker, but he's certainly letting Koscielny and Mertesacker know he's around.
Oh, do you know, I'm not sure that was deliberate in the end. I think it might have been a tangle of legs, just when he made the run on the back of Koscielny, and the Frenchman got the benefit.
Reminded me a little bit of Barini when he scored here in the League Cup final for Sunderland at that end of the ground.
Yeah.
And he got the decision. Here's Ramsey. Giroud. Got by the leggy Davis. Quinn, oh, he's taking a risk here. Giroud. And Stephen Quinn can breathe again, but maybe not properly, because Gibbs is going to keep the pressure on. Headed out by Davis.
Well, Stephen Quinn will be one relieved young man, because he almost put his side in big trouble. Then he just dallied on it way too long. Indecision. I wonder whether Giroud was going to wait for him to lunge in as well in his desperation to retrieve it. Got away with it.
Dare I say with you about the luck of the Irish in the end? Backing yourself on the ball is important, especially when you're the underdogs, but not in those areas.
Yeah, there are places to play.
We're hearing there'll be 3 added minutes. There's still time for Arsenal to level it up. It's all got them back in the picture with that free kick. Gibbs. Cazorla again. Still popping it around now with confidence, and in the sort of areas where Hull have got to be careful making their challenges. Patience didn't quite pay off that time, but again, that's more of a cameo of what we expected to see for maybe the first half right from the off.
Yeah, exactly.
Hull wrote a different script.
Yes, defending deeply and just giving Arsenal kind of nowhere to go, but how well it started with James Chester, and how well it was followed up then, of course, with Curtis Davis, the skipper, getting involved, and then Cazorla. And for a while you were just wondering exactly where this game was going to go. It has settled a bit, but still very much in Hull's favour.
Rossini. That's where Hull have been reasonably impressive, haven't they, Jim, since they went 2-1. They've got themselves back on the ball. They've made Arsenal do some defending. They haven't just sat in. And obviously Arsenal have had the better of things since the free kick, but it's by no means one-way traffic.
Well, it's one of Steve Bruce's mottos: take care of the football. You know, he prides himself in that. That's why he acquired the likes of Huddleston and indeed Livermore, and they have tried to keep it. I just think, and I said it before, Martin, I just think they need to have a little more belief in themselves in open play on the ball like that.
They were very nearly sprung there by Kieran Gibbs running from deep.
That's a tremendous run too, it really is. I mean, he more or less said, hit me, pass it to me. And watch El Mohammadi here though, great tracking, and he mopped it up.
Halfway through that added 3 minutes. Forward by Arteta. Senior. Good pressing again by Giroud, forced the error. Ramsey. Gibbs. The Hull fans calling for the half-time whistle.
Well, wouldn't Arsenal just love to sneak another now?
Well, I think the ball was caught there, and Lee Probert was the other side of it to us. Saw it the same way. Allowing El Mohammadi to break forward. Fabianski had too much to do, apart from deal with the ball being in his net twice. And Kieran Gibbs, header off the line. Stop Alex Bruce making it 3-0. So that the time might turn out to be a turning point. Myler. Well, the telegraphed his intentions. Are they going to be punished for that in these closing seconds of the first half? The answer is no. There is the half-time whistle. What a fantastic first half of the 2014 FA Cup final. Hull City, the underdogs, have made it. Steve Bruce's side roared into a 2-goal lead. 2 of his 3 centre-backs scored, Chester and Davis. And the third, Alex Bruce, nearly scored as Santi Cazorla put in a peach of a free kick from his point of view. Not so good from McGregor's point of view. It's really set up for the second period. At half-time, it is Arsenal 1, Hull City 2. Arteta for Ramirez. Gets away from Jose Enrique. First chance is Chelsea's. First goal is Chelsea's. Drogba makes space for the shot. He does! Yet again at Wembley. Silva's got plenty of pace, but he's caught and he's given Carroll a chance here. Andy Carroll onto his strong side. Goal for Liverpool. Welcome back to Wembley. The Arsenal players coming out in the same state of mind as the Hull players were at the semi-final here, Jim Beglin, 2-1 down, and of course they had a very good second half. Steve Bruce wants to make sure his opponents do not have that capacity to come back that the Tigers themselves showed. He's having a word with Shawnee Aluko.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned about the conditions, the intensity of the game, you know, people will tire. And it's the one thing I think Steve Bruce has on his bench that Arsene Wenger doesn't quite have, is some pace. So that may well be utilised to good effect in this second 45 minutes now. But these Arsenal players have got 45 minutes to end 9 years of drought now. It is a huge 45 minutes for the Londoners.
Away they go. The shot we had of Steve Bruce talking to Shawnee Aluko suggests that he may well be used sooner rather than later. Ramsey. Well, we had a first half of differing phases. The blistering start from Hull City, forcing the set pieces, which Steve Bruce had prepared his team so well to capitalise on, racing into that 2-0 lead. Arsenal got a goal back and got a real lift from it, but it didn't lead to total domination for the rest of the first half, and Hull got the ball down and played again. So they're going to try and do here, but it's miscued by the head of Quinn.
Yeah, but generally I think Hull have made life very, very hard for Arsenal to find that second goal and the crucial leveller. They've been organised, they had to be disciplined, we knew that, and they're not really giving those Arsenal players like Ozil, Cazorla and co, you know, the room to operate. Ramsey might have a little more joy with one or two runs from a deeper position, but again I think we're going to see much of what we're witnessing now throughout this second half. Arsenal on it a lot and Hull just in numbers trying to cope.
Hull are the 57th different club to take part in the final, and there would be the 44th different winner, following of course a first-timer a year ago in Wigan Athletic. Gibbs. Right, just shuttling across to try and make their pass less routine, and a bit of pressure there on Olivier Giroud. Forces a little bit of a wayward one.
I think he's gone for the more difficult option with the kind of right-footed layoff. Just get hold of it, keep it, and make sure there's a simpler pass on.
Sanya's header. Well, Hull thought they were going to get a free kick there for a foul on Quinn. And instead, it's an Arsenal throw. Manchester City won the Premier League and the League Cup. Leicester City won the Championship. The Hull owner doesn't like Hull City as the name. He's been trying to change it unsuccessfully. He might think it's quite a good name if it's engraved on the FA Cup. Arteta. Ozil just a little bit on the short side again. He's going to be a test. We know Arsenal are good footballers, Jim. It's going to be a real test of their character here.
Yeah, I said that to you in the first half, and their spirit and their togetherness now. Their teamwork has to come to the fore. This isn't all about individuals being able to produce moments now. They've really got to step it up as a unit and find a way through what is looking now a very stubborn Hull City rearguard. And you can see as well, there's an emphasis from Hull just to trying to keep a higher line. They started to drop a little too deeply to help Arsenal's cause in the first half. Well, they're trying to rectify that.
Ramsey. They will pan out in the second half to be Arsenal's passing against the persistence of Hull City. Ooh, and that's a ball that's caught out. Alex Bruce, Ozil, and coming across in the nick of time was Rosenior.
Well, but that's much better from Arsenal, and that's where they've got to get. They need to try and work that position to get beyond the whole defence. And it's a lovely little ball over the top. A bit of hesitation as well from Alex Bruce. I thought he could have come and dealt with it. Ozil helps it back into a good area. Just didn't get another red and white shirt.
Gibbs. Koscielny. Azor's back heel. A flick that doesn't find its target. This is such, you talk about for the players, such a big half for Arsene Wenger as well, Jim, isn't it? We've emphasised a couple of times already that it's really his influence on the club and his their support for him. Unstinting.
Yeah, he lost a shin pad on the move there.
It's part of the official equipment. And I'm sure you played with one or two players in the old days who didn't like wearing shin pads.
Yeah, I did. It's amazing, really. Back in the days when you would get walloped, yes. And people did leave a foot in.
Yeah, and you did get walloped.
Well, yeah, I was on the end of one myself. I was wearing shin pads that night, but they didn't do an awful lot of good. And Arteta deemed to be just a little high on Liam Rosenior.
Over El Mohammadi, the Egyptian, emphasising the global nature of Premier League clubs in England. We have to say England and Wales, of course, with Swansea, the now relegated Cardiff City. Much, I'm sure, to the chagrin of Aaron Ramsey, his hometown club. Here he is, the Welshman. Looking for Giroud, no way through. Hull hope to keep those barricades up for the remainder of this half. And if they do that, they will be FA Cup winners. So.
Yeah, well, the ball was fizzed in by Ramsey into Giroud, and he couldn't get it under control. Alex Bruce saw his chance, just pinched it. And the problem is, he followed through, and I think accidentally he's just stood on his knee area, couldn't thigh, and that's why he's remained on the surface. I don't think there was any intent in that from the Frenchman. And in fact, he made a move a short time ago to actually pick Alex Bruce up before he was ready to stand.
It'll be a sore one, though, for the Hull central defender. I don't think there'll be any changing of removing one of the centre-backs and going to a 4 in these circumstances. It's worked very well defensively.
No, I think, Giroud has had trouble. There's a lot of wrestling matches with the three centre-backs, and he's not having any real joy. The mistake that Quinn made almost led him in to set up a goal. You know, when you look back on the first half, particularly, Martin, Arsenal haven't really created anything of great significance. There have been one or two little half-chance moments, but that's been it. And I think the last thing Steve Bruce will want is to have to make changes defensively. I think Hull are doing fine.
Friat is a real pest to Koscielny. It's good play from the main striker, El Mohammadi. Quinn was caught by Arteta, I think. Huddleston can hit them with either foot. Quinn's back on his feet, which suggests that it wasn't too sinister.
Yeah, well, he felt that Arteta just left one on him. It didn't look too bad from that angle. And I think, again, the problem with this for Huddleston is just he's a little on the underside of the ball, and again, it's only going to lift.
Ramsey. And again. It's too far for Giroud to stretch for. And Hull only knocked out one Premier League team on the way to this final. That was Sunderland, who you would say were at their level in the Premier League. And Arsenal had three at their level to see off in Tottenham in round 3, which meant a lot to them, of course. And later on, both Liverpool and Everton, who had fantastic seasons. So they've earned the right to be here, the Gunners. Here's Huddleston. Backed up by Friat. It's nicely worked between the two of them. Oh, and he just maybe touched too many. Matty Friat.
Yeah. And the Hull City fans are screaming for a corner, but I think you could see it from the reaction from Friat that he knew it was off him last. It's a lovely 1-2 at Huddleston. He just needed to be more decisive. That touch was too heavy, and it did go out off him.
Ramsey.
Well, that's better from Giroud. That's what he's got to do. He's got to hold it, and he's got to find somebody else.
Yeah, could take a lesson from what Friat did just now.
I think out of the two number 12s on the pitch, even though Friat maybe hasn't seen as much of it, I think he's been more efficient.
Arteta. Well, I think if there are going to be a change for Steve Bruce, that will probably be the one when Matty Friat, who doesn't start in the league, maybe has reached the point where that part of the team needs refuelling.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a good chance of that. But he likes the FA Cup, Martin. He's got a few goals, hasn't he?
Certainly has got 4 of them. There's a free kick to Arsenal, just coming towards the... just past 10 minutes played in the second half. Hasn't been a troublesome start to the second half for Alan McGregor, and it's just too far out for them to go at the goalkeeper again from a free kick.
Just a one-man wall on this occasion, so he should see it early enough.
Corner.
Yeah, and it looked like Alex Bruce, again, just managed to glance it away from an Arsenal head.
And it was all about set plays at this end of the stadium, right at the start of the match. Those defenders who either scored or threatened goals have to do the job that they're really paid to do. And Arsenal swinging their set pieces. Gibbs. Giroud claiming he was being grabbed. Oh, he swung round there.
Well,
Tom Huddleston.
He's played on it, Giroud, but he's certainly pulled here. Just watch as he comes around the back of Huddleston. There you go. There's the hand, pulls him back, and I think it's a good penalty shot.
And just when Friat thought there was more FA Cup goals coming his way, he stopped. Another angle on it. I think Huddleston knew where Giroud was.
Yeah, he had a little feel for him, but just watch this part of it. I mean, yeah, look, it's gentle enough, and Giroud, we know, has played on it, but it could have been one of those where a referee is convinced.
if you feel a touch, you're entitled to go down, but it's the way you go down.
Yeah.
That wasn't a touch that sent him down, I don't think.
Yeah. He just overdid it.
Yeah. Referees get annoyed when they see things like that. But not annoyed enough on that occasion to book Giroud for over-egging the pudding, so to speak.
I think the referee has been very good. I think Lee Probert has been very sensible today.
Not been too happy recently. He's a fan of Bristol Rovers Football Club and they've lost their place in the Football League. The consolation is he's got a place in Wembley, refereeing the FA Cup final. And giving a free kick here. Easier to give in that part of the pitch, of course. And he's produced a yellow card for Huddleston.
Yeah, and to be honest, Arsenal, as soon as that was given away, and Huddleston is late on that one, on Santi Cazorla, Arsenal were encouraging the referee to issue yellow.
Mesut Ozil is the man in charge of the free kick. A few seconds short of the hour mark at Wembley. Charged down by Quint from Gibbs' shot, but Kieran Gibbs so quick recovering. That's where there is a bit of pace in the team. He did get forward a couple of times well in the first half down that left-hand side. Ramsey. Gibbs is forward on the outside of him. Ramsey's not looking in that direction. Ozil. Sanya. Maslar readying themselves for a substitution. They might make it before Mertesac's in a rush to take the free kick, understandably. Fryer, without infringing the laws of the game too much, was trying to stop that happening. It's Podolski who's going off. Well, there you are. You talk about expectations. Players who've played a lot of internationals. Here's one going off to be replaced by someone who's never played a full international, never scored a goal for Arsenal.
Yeah, well, that is a big call for me. I thought maybe you could see that substitution be made maybe slightly later, but I thought he would have let the proven goal scorer on the pitch, but he's decided to go with Sanogo, and it looks very much now, Martin, as if it's going to be 4-4-2.
So there is a plan B.
There is a plan B. Well, I think as well with Sanogo, he's got a little more energy about him and a wee bit more pace than Giroud. So there is that chance of a run in behind the whole defence.
Was a substitute who settled last year's FA Cup final, Ben Watson. Here's Fryer, furthest forward, but on a deep position, and he's given it away. It's lovely football from Arsenal. Sanogo playing his part, and maybe well, he stayed on his feet to his credit too when he could have gone down. Here's Gibbs trying to show that acceleration. And it has gone out, but not by much.
But that's the Arsenal we expected to see. That lovely little kind of...
First real Arsenal move, definitive Arsenal move.
Exactly, all those little flicks, one-touch stuff. And the problem was Sanogo just actually knocked it a little behind of where he intended. That was the problem, and in the end, Gibbs has just tried to take his man on and overran it. More frustration. Huddleston had to be very, very careful then as well, because he dangled a leg and Sanogo chose to ignore it.
I must say, great credit to him for that.
Yeah. Some might not have.
Some might say he's not seasoned enough a professional to have maximised it, but that would be very cynical. And we're not in that world, you and I, Jim. This is the romance of the FA Cup, and whatever the outcome here, we don't want it to decided by controversy.
Here.
Here's Ozil. It's a well-weighted pass. And some much-needed covering by Alex Bruce. That insurance is still there.
Yeah, more conviction now about Arsenal in trying to get back in this game. Arsene Wenger, since the substitution, they've stepped it up.
Short corner. Oh, and Sanogo nearly got there. Sanya's in there. Very nearly got it back across for Olivier Giroud. Another Arsenal corner. It is their best spell in the match.
Well, it is, but should Yaya Sanogo have got something more on that header near post? I think so.
The favourites are on the front foot here, but they still trail by 2-1. In goes Koscielny. Certainly they've got players from the back who can score, as Hull have shown they have as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice little dart by Koscielny, and he's away from Alex Bruce, who doesn't get to him, and unfortunately for him, he just can't stretch and get enough on it. Well, does this come off arm? It does, for Livermore, and you know...
But in slow motion, of course, it looks like more deliberate than... We're looking at Sanogo, aren't we, saying he should have headed the goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think he had every right to think Sanogo was probably going to get more on it. Yeah. He's not expecting that, and it's not deliberate.
It's always an issue, though, when an arm is raised, isn't it? There are times in a football match when you could do with no arms, really. You have to put them somewhere. And the problem, Alex Bruce here, and we know Hull having dilly-dallied over that last goal kick. And it may be that Paul McShane is going to be a direct replacement for Alex Bruce, who's certainly done his job for 65 minutes. Absolutely no thought of nepotism in the selection.
No,
He's been a worthy selection by his dad. And as Bruce Jr. leaves the pitch, Bruce Sr.'s side still lead Arsenal by 2-1, and he was very close, Alex Bruce himself, to scoring the second goal and to adding a third.
I think he's played with wonderful commitment, great determination in his game today, and he's attacked everything.
Well, he's a decent player at this level of the game, and he's a very decent lad too. Paul McShane, who's one of those who has suddenly become fit again after a long time out. Another one, like Alex Bruce, like James Chester, with Manchester United roots.
Well, he played against Everton. We know he's been out injured for quite a while, so at least he's had a feel for it. And I would imagine, yeah, it will be. Now it's going to be James Chester who's tucking in centrally, and McShane is going to operate where he did against Everton, the right side of the three.
It's interesting, Arsene Wenger complaining about the time that's being used up here. If Arsenal were 2-1 up, I'm sure that they would be embarking on something similar. It's just comes with the significance of victory. Ramsey, Ozil, not quite for Arsenal again. Another lovely ball from Huddleston. Quinn spotted the run of Livermore. Ooh, and had he turned the other way in the first place, he might have been able to find Friat. It's just a little open here from Hull's point of view. Ramsey. It's very open from Hull's point of view. The ball was taken there, despite Cazorla's beseeching of the officials. I'm sure there was a touch of the ball. What did you make of it, Jim?
Well, it must have been. Lee Probert is superbly positioned to see it. So Curtis Davies must have got something on the ball before Cazorla was taken by him.
Here's El Mohammadi. Well, I'm sure see an angle or three on that. El Mohammadi bravely taking on the speed of Kieran Gibbs. And he's kept Hull in possession. And Hull have kept this lead in the second half. It's Livermore who's shanked it. It didn't even hit the corner flag. But all eyes on the referee when this happened.
Yeah, well, he just goes to bring it back inside. Yeah, he gets the ball. He gets a little bit on the ball, Davis. And I don't think he's deliberately trying to play Cazorla. There's no real movement to take him. And yes, there is a slight follow-through, and he does make contact with the Spaniard's right foot, but not for me.
And not for Lee Probert. Ramsey.
And you know, that all came from Martin as well, the fact that Hull City had made an attack, and it's almost Arsenal's best opportunity when the game is stretched a little bit and they can pick their passes easier. It was a wonderful ball from Ramsey to get Cazorla in.
Well, you wonder whether we've seen Cazorla with that amount of room at all in the game so far, and I don't think we have.
Yeah.
That's a partnership for you. A lucky ricochet between the two centre-backs. Myler feeling he might be in trouble here. Well, he is with a yellow card.
I think sometimes he's got a reputation, Myler. He's been involved in a little controversy here and there over the course of the season, and I think some of the referees feel that, you know, he's a little rash at times.
Abrasive.
Then I think it's a very harsh booking. I think he does very little then.
Arteta. Three goals came early. You just sense we're going to get some late drama here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think at this stage, Hull have been so good, really, at defending their lead. I think Arsenal would be just delighted to be able to get to extra time. I think just even levelling it at 2-2. I think when we saw Cazorla knock that one in, you just felt there was a lot more coming from Arsenal, but it hasn't been the case.
Gibbs. Giroud has turned McShane. Hull could be in trouble here. Oh, and it's the side netting from Sneijder. Maybe he didn't get the last touch, and the referee's changed his mind. He's of that opinion.
Yeah, well, because he's ahead of the near post, Sonogo, it's a difficult one, and he goes for the flick. It was beautiful work from Giroud. Nice turn, but I think it was deemed to have come off. The Hull City skipper lost.
Cazorla's corner. And it's turned in from very close range by Laurent Koscielny. He's the one the Arsenal players jump on. It's another defender. And Arsene Wenger's team have come back from 2-0 down at Wembley. Steve Bruce has to take it on the chin.
Well, incredible as well that it's come from yet another set piece, and again I think the damage was done once Hull failed to win the first one. And Koscielny is fortunate in the fact that the ricochet fell really kindly for him. Hull are by now all looking at the ball. It comes off another Hull player to fall from, and all he's got to do is swivel. And even then, I'm not sure the contact was great. It doesn't matter. He got something on it to get it to cross that line. And it's been improving from Arsenal since they made the change. And they're right back in it now. That's a huge bonus for Schiff. Koscielny, who was caught by Alan McGregor, trying to keep it out.
So how Hull City going to handle it from here? The force is with Arsenal. Sonogo. Arteta wins it back. Off goes Giroud. Up goes Giroud. Sonogo is high. Just raw enthusiasm.
But just looking at Giroud, Martin, he just looks as if he's happier. The fact that he's got someone up alongside him who he can look to link up with, and you know, he attempted to get the header down for Sonogo there. And this was him earlier as well with a little flick for Sonogo. There was no contact, was there, from the corner? In fact, it shouldn't have been a corner. That looked like clean off Sonogo, and Arsenal have got lucky in getting the decision and getting the equaliser.
Well, all you can say after that is you've still got to defend the corner, haven't you?
Absolutely.
And they didn't defend it very well. Arsenal's prayers have been answered, but they still have to complete the comeback. Here comes Shawnee Aluko. Pace on the break. Going to replace Stephen Quinn.
Yeah, I could see why Matty Fryer remains on the pitch, because of his ability to score a goal. And now Shawnee Aluko will be expected to try and run that Arsenal defence and get beyond them.
Well, we're not often blessed with lots of goals in an FA Cup final, certainly in recent years. There was one, of course, Jim, that you'll remember with your Liverpool allegiance. Liverpool 3, West Ham 3. 2006 at Cardiff, which Liverpool won eventually on penalties. And don't forget, penalties are within the regulations today. But only after 15 minutes each way of extra time if we get to 90 minutes left.
Yeah, forgive me, Martin, if you've mentioned this already in the first half, but I remember an Arsenal 3-2 against Manchester United. Was it 79?
It was. It was, and it followed a 2-0 lead being cut back to 2-2.
Yeah.
And the team that had been 2-0 up, Arsenal, went and scored the 5th goal of the game.
They did.
Alan Sunderland. McShane, strength from Huddleston. Luko, fouled by Arteta.
Yeah. And you can understand Arteta's frustration, because Arsenal are desperate to keep the pressure on.
Well, he's feeling a fair bit better about life. They trailed for much of the game.
I'm just trying to remember the last time I've seen Arsenal play with a 4-4-2 formation. It's something he had to do, and
needs must.
Needs must, and it's helped. It's helped a lot.
Headed on by Al-Mohammadi. Hunted down by Fright again, who's still got some energy. Koscielny. Well, 3 of the 4 goals have come from defenders, either directly from set plays, on second balls from set plays, and a free kick. For all the talk about passing the ball around, those elements of the game are so vital.
Well, I know some managers take great pride in what they do from dead ball situations and spend an awful lot of time on it. And is it something like 40% of all goals?
Maybe more now.
Yeah, possibly. So
the problem is, I don't know whether it was like in your day, Jim, but the players hate doing the rehearsals in the week. There's a lot of standing around.
Well, we did hardly any of it in my Liverpool days, but when I went to Leeds and Howard Wilkinson, we did rather a lot, Martin, so I know exactly what you're on about there.
Sanogo. Yes, I think Howard used to do it on the morning of the game. There's a mistake here. And Giroud. Arsenal arriving in droves.
Oh, I cannot believe that Ozil hasn't hit that. Instead, he's looked for another pass when he could just swivel on it and try and fire it go.
Here is Shawnee Aluko doing what he's been brought on to do, get at Arsenal, but he needs a bit of help. And he had it from either side, actually better on the left. Substitutes done very well. Rossignol are looking to find a second wind and a 3rd goal at Wembley. Shane covers. Sanya's header. Mertesacker. I think he scored in the semi-final to get Arsenal out of a jam.
What is it about defenders? and Hull make a defensive change. Arsenal make an attacking change, and the tide is completely shifted.
Ramsey. Giroud just tucking it around the corner for Sanogo. We'll get it again here. Oh, and it's Kieran Gibbs! What a chance. Put your hands on the FA Cup, son, if that goes in.
Spot on. I cannot believe he's missed it. Sanogo, I think, does wonderfully well. Maybe a little fortunate in the fact that it finds its way to the far post. But Kieran Gibbs knew as soon as he set this up, on a strong left foot as well, that this could be his moment, and I cannot believe he's got under it to that extent. What a miss.
Another defender.
Another defender.
Of course, the best of it in recent times, best in recent times, Steve Bruce himself. I think nearly got 20 goals, got 19 goals one season for Manchester United.
Listen, I've been in that position myself, and when I wasn't used to it...
Oh, you're going to speak up for the left-backs here.
Sometimes you can get a little rush of blood.
Here's Aaron Ramsey with a lot of room. He wants to get it onto his right foot for a pass. Challenge here, again, referee Probert not of a mind to give the FA Cup final a penalty. And give Arsenal a penalty. And here's Aluko. Good work again by Koscielny.
See, they can be very, very tricky decisions for a referee as well. And to his credit, Lee Probert, if he's had any doubt at all today, he's just dismissed. And again, he felt Cazorla went to ground way too easily, and he just wasn't having any part of it.
That's such a gripping conclusion to this season's FA Cup, containing all the elements that the competition has been highlighted for. It's the first final in 1872.
I mean, again, there's just a little touch on the ball to come Cazorla's way. He's felt a brush from Myler, that's all it was. And again, I think Lee Probert's got it correct. You know, for me, it's not a real attempt to bowl him over.
Maybe third time lucky for the Spaniard. He gets into those positions again. That's twice he's been, if you like, thwarted by the decision. But I think when the dust settles, and particularly if Arsenal do win this final, he might look back on it and think, well, worth the shout, but well played the referee.
Yeah.
Here's Mesut Ozil. Sanogo almost finding Ramsey. Drops for Giroud, beaten away by McGregor. Excellent football from Arsenal again. They're getting closer and closer to getting in front at the right time.
Well, there only looks to be one winner at the moment, and technically the Frenchman gets this absolutely spot on. And through legs as well, it can make it difficult for a goalkeeper. That's very well dealt with by Alan McGregor, very well dealt with.
Well, you've got to say, Jim, it's Mertesacker's turn now. There he is. Leaning in towards it too. Ozil. Ramsey not pressed. To put the ball in some consideration. Gibbs. Blocked by Aluko. Hull at least can get a bit further up the pitch.
Well, I was just about to say to you that if Arsenal do slip up, and similarly to that, then Aluko is exactly the type of player they won't want running at them.
McShane. Ozil. Ramsey. And it's McGregor's. Well, of course, they can lose the match and all the disappointment that goes with it, but they've gained so much, whatever happens, Steve Bruce and Hull City, from the performance. And they've come here and taken Arsenal on head-to-head. And given the favourites all sorts of problems, and they're still in with a big shout.
Yeah, and really the last kind of 10-15 minutes, I mean, Arsenal have looked very dominant, but prior to that, it wasn't the case. It was very evenly matched, and Hull gave pretty much as good as they got.
Davis, Senior, Luca, Senior again. And it's taken a long time for Arsenal to get their game going, to find the belief. Even Cazorla's goal came pretty soon after it went 2-0 to Hull, didn't do the trick. And they have got stronger in the second half. They'll be worried about Hull on the break. Slippery work from Aluko again. And I think that surely is going to be a booking. Giroud recognised that Aluko was with a chance of playing a very probing ball down that side to Rossini's run.
Yeah, he was worried. He knew that, you know, had the right ball been played, then Arsenal were going to be stretched and in a little bit of trouble. So I think he was happy to take one for his team then.
Yeah, not having that as a forwards challenge and an excuse, which they sometimes trot out. Tense, very tense here indeed. 5 minutes or so to go. And then the possibility of extra time, but here's McShane. Al-Mohammadi putting it back in. And Curtis Davis with already one to his name. Trying to get what will be a decisive goal, you feel, at this stage. Attendance announced that just over 89,345, and it's cost a lot of money to be here in the stadium, and I would say everybody is paid, saying they had full value. And a card for Davis this time. It's taken a while for Lee Probert to have to referee in this way.
Yeah, and I think this is
Giroud, he had to do Davis, surely, didn't he?
Yeah, it was one of his easier decisions. He had two little pulls at him, Curtis Davis, and yeah, he had to brandish yellow for that too.
Ozil stands and looks in disappointment. Koscielny couldn't sprinkle the magic this time.
But he sprinkled the magic earlier in the half with a very kind break. Got caught on the follow-through as well from Alan McGregor, but it doesn't matter. He just got what was needed on it to level things.
Prayers have been answered, but only to stay in the match. Well, Hull are attacking what we could call the Ben Watson end in these closing minutes of the 90, where the decisive goal came a year ago for Wigan.
And that's just another little example of tiredness, and Steve Bruce knows that.
Both managers having to factor in on potential changes, the extra time situation. There's it. Ramsey. Koscielny. Arsenal haven't led at all here at Wembley this afternoon. Now would be the time. Sagna. Koscielny. Everyone doing their job defensively for Hull City, and Arsenal just trying to probe for an opening. Lee Probert has told the fourth official, we understand, there are going to be 5 added minutes. So regulation time is certainly not over yet.
Well, Kieran Gibbs could have won it. And I just wonder whether Arsenal have a hero in the making now, because they have shown the character and they have shown the spirit.
Sanogo, Giroud. Well, I would say in defence of Kieran Gibbs, he got that one off the line in the first half to stop his side going 3-0 down.
That's very true.
From Alex Bruce's header.
I still think he'll be thinking more about the miss than the clearance off the line, Martin.
Arsenal going to win. He won't be too bothered. And here's Sanogo! Say, the chance to get your very first goal for a club to win the FA Cup.
Yeah, and the problem for him was, as soon as he picks this up, Sanogo, is that he doesn't get clean contact. Watch the way he plays it into the ground. And that's why the ball jumped and bounced. And it didn't help its direction either, just always a little off, and only a little. But it wasn't his cleanest.
Well, I would continue to watch rather than hide behind the hands, because you never know. The City have certainly not been overwhelmed at any stage of the game. They got their early grip on it. Of course, it's been loosened. Of course, the longer it goes on, you tend to feel, as a seasoned football watcher, that class will out, and there's a bit more class sprinkled in the Arsenal team than the whole ranks.
Yeah, but it's not guaranteed.
No, not by any means. And one thing Steve Bruce's side, and they do play plenty of football as well, but they have got bags of spirit. Now is the time to show it. Get on the end of this, Curtis Davies. And he does. Mertesacker. Sanya can only head it up in the air. McShane was in there with that mop of blonde hair. Myler can't keep it in. We're into the 5 minutes. There's your friend, Mr. Myler, again.
Yeah, just trying to kind of hold on to the ball and run the clock down a little.
A feather ruffler. Well, Hull started so splendidly. Have they got to finish in them? Or are they going to concede and have heartbreak at Wembley? Might be the former at the moment. Mertesacker had a fire to put out then. It's at the right end of the ground for the Hull fans.
Well, I think that they've got to find some way now of getting this into the box. I know it's a throw, whether it's a long one. See, that's exactly what they shouldn't have done. They've wasted a very good opportunity to cause Arsenal a late problem.
And what they shouldn't do is let Arsenal get out of a throw in that situation where you can get penned in, squeezed in. Arteta. Here's Ozil. Is it going to for Giroud? Did very well. Aware of the ticking clock, I think. Yeah, probably his best effort of the game.
Very much so. And, you know, for such a big man as well, to turn so sharply here, it's very impressive. And he got good power behind it too. It wasn't an easy skill.
Livermore's header. It's not all going to be about skill if it goes to extra time. All about strength, stamina, the belief in the whole ranks. And they must have thought when it went to 2-2 that the fates were against them.
Yeah, togetherness and focus, concentration and communication become even more important now. People have got to talk to each other to keep everybody alert. Because when the body tires, the mind soon goes with it. And that can become a real problem.
The concentration is needed for Arsenal at the back here, who started so slovenly in defending set pieces. Up goes Davis. No damage that time. The side that finished fourth in the Premier League is Ozil, gliding away from Livermore. Ramsey. Oh, Santi Cazorla. To his credit, he scampered after it, and the moment isn't yet lost for Arsenal. Hull aren't out of this particular wood. It's over Sanogo. We've tried to give the players an excuse about the weather and the pressures and whatever. Actually, the tempo's hardly dropped at all.
They've been great. I think that the commitment we've seen from both sides has been superb. And if that's just a fraction slower, then I think Cazorla gets his right foot on it, and who knows how this game could have ended up in 90 plus 5 minutes.
Whole song echoing around Wembley, trying to outshout their Arsenal counterparts. On the pitch, the Arsenal players going to get the better of their Hull counterparts, and Giroud rushed it, forced it a little, understandable.
Yeah. And again, you know, he knows that the whistle is going to go pretty soon, and just hoping to squeeze another chance out of it before that happens.
Arteta. This might well be the last attack for Lee Probert. Herald's extra time. There's an awkward bounce there and an awkward jump by Sagna.
Yeah, Hull City get the free kick, but Olivier Giroud wanted one because he felt Davis caught him just a little late, a moment sooner.
We take another half an hour of this, Jim.
Yeah. I honestly, I think it's been hugely entertaining. It's been hard to watch at times for some, but that's the nature of these games when they swing to and fro like that. It puts everybody through a whole array of emotions, and we've had the lot here.
Well, Hull City roared into a 2-0 lead. Arsenal got one back quickly, and then Laurent Koscielny scored the only goal of the second half to take us to 2 periods of 15 minutes, extra time at Wembley. After 90 minutes, Arsenal 2, Hull City 2, and it's been brilliant. So we head for extra time. Oh, here we are, still at Wembley, with the prospect of more excitement to come. It has been difficult for the FA Cup as a competition because of the growth of European football, which of course it never had to deal with. Even going back to when I started watching football, there was no League Cup. So you played your league games and you played your FA Cup ties, and now there is competition elsewhere, but the nature of this competition and the Wembley finale used to be beneath the Twin Towers, now it's beneath the Arch, and it epitomises so much that's good about football.
It does. It's a spectacular setting, one of the most iconic venues on the planet, and it's a pleasure and a privilege to watch two teams go at it hammer and tongs, as we've seen this evening.
So a little bit of liquid has been taken on board. Here's the message for all Hull fans to take on board. The managers have had their say. Brucey has had his say. I'm not sure what Mr. Wenger's nickname is. Mr. Wenger, I think. Away we go. 15 minutes each way, remember, at 2-2 in the FA Cup final. Sanya.
Yeah, and I think Arsenal know as well, with both Giroud and Sanogo partnering one another now up front, that they can be a little more direct. They can go a little longer at times and try and use the height they've got now.
Maybe they're just a little bit more open in midfield. Hull haven't really had the chance to exploit that.
Yeah, well, I guess, I mean, that's what Steve Bruce is hoping for, that Aluko will get one of those opportunities to break.
Arsenal's throw. So we really have the feelings now, Jim, that probably around the world everybody had at the start of the game. You know, Arsenal should be the favourites. They're the side with the greater pedigree, the greater FA Cup history, the better recent run. Santi Cazorla. Gibbs goes for a little clip this time, and Curtis Davis got across in the nick of time. They need to win it again.
Yeah, and the nature of the contest. Arsenal have the momentum now, and that's vitally important. But you know, you can't underestimate the pride and the passion we've seen from the Hull City players. They've given it everything and still are. And who knows? They may come again.
Well, defeat with honour is something that we talk about in the media. The fans can talk about. Professional players, it's still defeat.
Yeah.
But no one's losing at the moment. I'll have to start from deep. Who's got the legs? Who's going to impress us with their running power in this extra period? Right, knows it's his throw, but it's got to go out to be a throw. Matty. Well done by Sanya and by Ramsey. Sanogo looking for some help. Well, he might not need any help, but he does now. It comes for Giroud. And he's trying to muddle his way through. Sanogo's there as well. And there was a man over for Arsenal, Ozil.
Yeah, there was, but Jake Livermore pretty much saved the day there by a great burst to get back, and that's fantastic desire to see that at this stage of the game. Not easy. And you know, I think I said to you right at the start, Martin, that I thought Ramsey could be key.
Oh, it was a mistake. Rossini into Davis. Ramsey crosses. Oh, and it's off the bar. A trademark header from Olivier Giroud.
I just think Ramsey's becoming more and more influential with his passing. I thought we might see much more from him in terms of his running forward. Been very little of that, but his passing has really come on now, and it's got Arsenal away. And after the first ball to set Sanogo away, he got a bonus to get the second one in for Giroud.
Arsenal making the better chances since it's gone to 2-2. Two conspicuously so. Kieran Gibbs in regulation time. Olivier Giroud climbing then.
When you see moments like that, of course you think, yeah, it looks like Arsenal will probably win the day. But then you start thinking, well, hang on, is the look on Hull side?
Ramsey. Oh, it came out to where he'd like to be, really, with the ball at his feet. Probably on the right foot rather than the left. And this was Giroud, got in front of McShane. and battered it off the bar.
Yeah, and I'm not sure whether McShane did enough just to cause that, but if he did with a little bit of contact, then he's helped his team enormously. But I think from Giroud's reaction, he felt he should have had it underneath that crossbar.
That's what he does. He scores headers like that. That's how he's earned his elevation through French football into the squad of a French manager here.
That was a Brucey bonus.
Yeah. It's going to be a whole throw. Mikel Arteta is still trying to patrol in a defensive way, although they've changed the system now, so he perhaps has even more responsibility, especially with Ramsey pushing on. Cazorla and Ozil in more conventional, wider areas. Luka. Sakalini. Fabianski, we've hardly mentioned him. Might be his last game for Arsenal. He's been the understudy for Chesney in Premier League and Champions League. He hasn't had to pull off the sort of saves McGregor has.
No, but he's picked the ball out of the net
Same time, doesn't it? Yeah. There's it. Cazorla. That's what you don't want to be doing later on in the evening, especially when that happens. The stinger from Ramsey certainly kept that one down with his right foot.
Yeah, and much more power behind it from Aaron Ramsey. Capitalised on a poor square ball from Livermore, and I think Alan McGregor was relieved to see that coming right at him all the way.
Myler putting it down for Luka, picked up by Huddleston. Now Rossignol. Myler, Livermore, sort of running power left in El Mohammadi. Not quite as much as he had at the start, and that's certainly understandable. He thought he was fouled.
Yeah. I think he kind of prodded the ball and then he kind of caught Gibbs' foot there. But by then I think he already knew he wasn't going to get on the end of it because there was too much pace. And again, I think Lee Probert has got it right. I just think he could have been helped then. I mean, I don't know whether he got a shout from Steve Bruce, but Paul McShane could have made a little dart in support with El Mohammadi, but he decided to just hold his position. Understandable.
Ramsey. Ozil. Arteta doesn't usually get this far forward. Fed into Ramsey. Oh, it's beautifully working, Ramsey. Well, he can't. The conventional wisdom is to go across goal in those circumstances. Maybe he was just caught in the act of shooting.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, I think this is the difference between the teams. Arsenal have that in their locker, that lovely, quick passing and movement, that better understanding and instinct. And like you, I'm a little surprised that he didn't go right across Alan McGregor, Aaron Ramsey.
Would it be fair to say, Jim, that at this stage, Hull would settle for penalties, and Arsenal are looking like a side that want to do it by the proper means?
Well, simply because, I mean, we're sitting here and it's probably easy for us to comment on it, or then Steve Bruce is hoping, but you can't really see Hull creating a great chance. I mean, unless something remarkable happens, they just don't look as if they're going to threaten.
Or a set piece, maybe.
Maybe a set piece, yes, but otherwise there's no kind of more menace from them in open play.
Got the ball in open play here. And when passing, just admiring James Chester, who was ruled out with a hamstring injury and is still going strong after almost 100 minutes.
Yeah.
And he scored a goal.
And he scored, yeah. And those types of injuries, when you think you're okay again, and then you get involved in the pace of a match, and all of a sudden it pings again, it goes again. So he's done extremely well.
Well, maybe it was, in the end, something like a sciatic nerve, which you can deal with a bit quicker if you're lucky. It does feel like a hamstring injury when that happens. Here's Santi Cazorla. McShane is there. McShane and Luco, the substitutes. Luco is here. Some impressive footwork, but not for long enough. It's an intriguing possibility for Steve Bruce. He's getting George Boyd limbering up, who is, of course, player with a match-winning moment in his locker. Really a clever player. It's Ramsey again.
Yeah, and maybe one or two of his teammates felt he was a tad greedy then, because he had plenty of options to pass it around him. And it's almost become the Aaron Ramsey show.
Yeah, he's got 15 goals. He would have been the player if they had a player of the first half of the season till he got injured, I think Boxing Day. And it's Liam Rosenior who's going off. A popular character. George Boyd, and it's not what you would call like for like.
No, because George Boyd essentially is an attacking player. And he is going to take up that left wing-back position. Now, you just wonder whether Arsenal might be able to get something in behind him now. I mean, I think that is just a clear case of Rosenior was spent. You know, he's given it everything he had, and Boyd has good energy, and he will do a lot of running and tackling.
It's down his side of the pitch that Arsenal look to get in. That's not going to be seen as a back pass. But just what do you think if you're Minor Figueroa when George Boyd comes on as the last change in your position, really?
Well, it's difficult to kind of read Steve Bruce's mind on that. You never know what's gone on in training, of course, in the build-up to this, because that can play a part. But I guess Steve Bruce is still hoping that maybe Boyd can just have a little foray forward and get on the end of something, you know, more than Figueroa would do. So I can only surmise that that's his thinking.
Change of gear from Ozil. A pass for Sonogo. Back by Mertesacker. Maybe we've done Steve Bruce a disservice by suggesting Hull would go for penalties, although if it comes to that, I'm sure Boyd would take one.
Yeah, well, I think certainly once we get towards the end of the second period of extra time, they'll be thinking about that.
In goes Sonogo.
That's what I mean about the energy that Boyd has, because that was really good tracking to get all the way across. That's not good, though.
McShane gets in. Ooh, and it was half a chance. It came quickly to Santi Cazorla.
Well, you have to make your mind up in a split second. And again, I just wonder if Cazorla regrets not going for power here. It's not a good attempt to clear it by McShane. It's very poor, and it set the Spaniard up, and I think his face says everything there. He felt he should have produced more.
Well, sometimes these first periods of extra time can drag on because players are frightened of making mistakes. Again, it hasn't been the case here. Obviously, more threat from Arsenal. Shape of the period you would expect. And Giroud hitting the bar. That'll be a free kick to Hull.
And that's a nudge from Ozil.
Arsenal might just be caught out by that short free kick. Koscielny's there, though. He has been a very dependable player for them.
Always a good position to pick up as well. I mean, it's almost called the John Terry position, isn't it, these days, because he's done it so often.
Well, that's over Boyd. Sanogo. Good work by Chester.
I thought Boyd could have given him something to aim for. Boyd just seemed to say, "You're on your own here, son. I'm not going to help you out." But
McGregor didn't fancy turning the other way, did he? Backing his speed. It's half-time in extra time, incidentally. That's a little scary moment for the Scot. No goals in the first 15 minutes of the extra period, but Giroud did hit the bar. At Wembley, it is still Arsenal 2, Hull City 2 in the 2014 FA Cup final. Well, these days they do allow a little bit of a break in the middle of extra time. The regulations used to state you turn straight round. And I think, to be fair to the players who've given us so much entertainment, no one's begrudging and to just take on a little bit of liquid. There's Vic Akers, the experienced Arsenal kit man, who was a professional player and often talks to Arsene Wenger during matches and just gives a bit of homespun advice. He's very good at it. I think his job here is to organise a double substitution. Only Sanogo on to this point. Now it's Thomas Rosicky on the left as we look, and Jack Wilshere is very short of football, but is fit, which is good news for England.
of course, and he's only been asked to play 15 minutes and maybe take a penalty. We'll have to wait and see on that one, but I certainly thought he would make one change now, but he's decided to go for two, and I think this could be significant as well. There's considerable energy coming on now in Arsenal's attack.
Number 7, Thomas Rosicky.
So Hull City start the second period of extra time. Arsenal got through the shootout here against Wigan. A couple of saves from Fabianski, and they converted all their penalties. They have had some traumas from the spot. You think of a League Cup defeat at Bradford City the season before, the one that's just finished. And Tottenham knocked Hull out of the League Cup this season via a penalty shootout. Another North London side may be waiting for them if it gets that far, but don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Koscielny. It's just again a little overzealous from Hull. Rosicky wants it back again. And again, Sanogo going to the near post. Here he is. He went for the pass. And once more, it fell for a Ramsey shooting opportunity.
Yeah, but listen, this was all between the two substitutes, Rosicky and Wilshere. And in the end, I think Wilshere was a little upset with Yaya Sanogo that he couldn't work the ball to him, and Ramsey even more so because he didn't keep the shot down. But there's the spark that that Arsene Wenger was hoping for.
A nice little bonus for Roy Hodgson, the England manager, as well, to see Jack Wilshere get some game time in an important game. Sagna, one of his last forays forward as an Arsenal player. Chester, and he's nearly put his side in trouble.
Do you know, Boyd has done very well again. Did so in the first half of extra time, and that's another very good challenge.
El Mohammadi. Koscielny again with that impressive acceleration.
And I think importantly as well, Fabianski decided to stay and let the defender deal with it. Otherwise, he could have made it much more complicated. Good decision.
His mind would be moving towards the possibility of a shootout again. No foul. It's an intentional move, I think Lee Probert thought. Arsenal win it back. And they've got plenty of players forward here. Wilshere. Here's Giroud. Oh, brilliantly taken. Absolutely brilliantly taken by Aaron Ramsey. He's got one right, and Arsenal finally lead deep into extra time. It looks as though, in the end, it's going Arsene Wenger's way. And it was a typical Arsenal goal.
Goal scorer for Arsenal, number 16, Aaron Ramsey.
But for so much of the game, he's had to bide his time. He's had to wait, and he's not made the adventurous running forward that we've seen so often from him this season. But he's been given much more freedom as the game has progressed. And just look at the little dart he made into the box, and the lovely little flick back as well by Giroud to find him. And that is just a peach of a strike, just inside that near post, with too much pace on it for McGregor to even think about getting there. And finally, Arsenal are in front.
Well, I think it's fair to say, Jim, that if Ramsey hadn't got injured in December, late in December, Arsenal led the league for long periods, more than any other club, I think, in the whole course of the Premier League season. They might be celebrating on a different front as well as in the FA Cup. He's been that good, and they've got him back when they needed him for this big day. And the player who lost here with Cardiff City in 2008 has got himself closer to a winner's medal now, and his teammates. But it's George Boyd. Oh, and he's got good feet too. He's almost got the ball back again.
It just got stuck under his feet in the end for George Boyd. That was the problem, because this is very well done by Shoni Aluko, and that's where he got it wrong. You know, just when he needed to kind of tee up an effort at goal or the chance to take it on again.
And he's got the ability to do that.
And he does. He does have good feet, as you say. He's quite clever technically. But I just think when you look back on the contest as a whole, Martin, that kind of half-forward line of Arsenal, who are very impressive, hugely talented, the likes of Cazorla, Ozil, Podolski, didn't really do it. And it's been kind of left again with the changes that Arsene Wenger has made, which have been very positive and have worked. I think Ramsey has been their best again.
But they're under pressure here defensively. But the flag is up, and that's disappointing from Hull's point of view. It was their skill at set pieces and Arsenal's vulnerability that put them in trouble. But the damage seems to have been repaired. The comeback looks to be complete.
I can't tell you how good that touch is as well from Ramsey. You know, Alan McGregor obviously feels now it's probably just been prized away from Hull City, but he came onto it so well, and it wasn't the easiest one either, because when it was back heel by Giroud, it just kind of bounced a little bit. But it was an absolute beauty.
Here's Aluko. And you mentioned just earlier that how his teammates were getting at him a bit for shooting too much.
That's right.
They're not now. And what has Steve Bruce got up those sleeves of his? Minutes left.
Yeah, and you know, I think it's time for Hull now to forget about trying to work their way forward. I think it's just got to be long. It's got to be route one. It's got to be direct, and they've just got to compete hard and to hope they get a break. That's what Steve Bruce will be looking for now. Alan McGregor, sure enough, goes long.
Well, they were quiet for a long time, and they were in full voice.
They were. And obviously the big change now is the fact that Curtis Davies is playing as a centre-forward.
And I think a slightly damaged centre-forward as well. He got that bang on the hip or on the thigh, didn't he?
From
quite
Giroud.
early on, yeah. And here comes Rosicky. There's a big gap, but he's gone for the pass. Here's Giroud. Picked the right ball out for Sanogo. All got a bit congested in the end. Rosicky could have got on. It opened up for him.
Agreed.
Oh, and it's a mistake by El Mohammadi. And Sanogo isn't far away from dotting the I and crossing the T.
Yeah, El Mohammadi will be very relieved because this is clumsy from him. He just put it straight into Sanogo's path. And again, speaking of clumsy, it's a little clumsy technically, but once it goes through legs like that, a goalkeeper is never quite sure. And it might have been the barest touch too from Alan McGregor.
Well, he's getting some big opportunities, isn't he? Played in the semi-final. The first call today from Arsene Wenger. And he bought him, of course, so he's got to show his faith in him. He had half the season out, the first half of the season out with, I think, a back problem. Flag is up again here.
I said it, he gave the attack a little bit more, and I think he helped Giroud. I think Giroud was having a very tough time of it on his own, and I think the fact that he had a little support as well, I think it just lifted the whole Arsenal performance.
Well, a little premature, maybe.
Still over 5 minutes, and maybe another little bit added on.
Sanogo. It's just hooked up field by Huddleston. Oh, and now Fabianski might not get there. It's a real chance. Oh, neither Davis in the middle or the ball directly from Aluko. Fabianski was left high and dry, and Aluko at pace from a difficult angle, but still. Jim Beglin.
Well, Per Mertesacker got himself in a right muddle and made a complete mess of it. And that was the one chance that Steve Bruce was hoping Aluko would get. I think he was maybe a little selfish in going for goal, because he could have pulled it back and he had a couple of teammates in support. And I think maybe it's just as well that Gibbs missed it entirely, because he could easily have got the wrong contact. Maybe that's as good as it's going to get for Hull. We'll have to wait and see.
I would have stopped the engraver in his tracks. McShane was fouled. Well, I talked about the 3-3 at Liverpool and West Ham. You mentioned quite rightly a 3-2, Jim. I was at the game, the Alan Sunderland winner. Manchester United had come back from 2-0 down, but they couldn't, unlike Arsenal, get the fifth goal. Brady Cross Sunderland goal, 3-2 Arsenal. In by El Mohammadi. Fabianski has got it now.
Yeah, I don't know there was a shout involved, but maybe a little fortunate that it fell that kindly for him.
Well, it is enough to bring tears to your eyes. First major final, a 2-0 lead. So proud of the team. They'll still be so proud of the team. Hull was the biggest conurbation in England not to have a team in the FA Cup final. That's changed now. I think the honour has, or the dishonour has gone to Plymouth down in the southwest. And there's a challenge for them. Here's Rosicky, and they could easily be in again here. It's going to be a moment or two like that. I'm sure another chance for Arsenal. Hull have to find a bit of energy, find numbers up the pitch, somehow find a way to get the ball up the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to defend this, obviously, but then I think they've got to completely take risks. I mean, it's just that situation now. If they can force a corner, we might even see McGregor up.
It's Arsenal's to lose now. It's a protracted fall, but Sonogo's still going! Again denied that first ever Arsenal goal. McGregor's kept Hull in it for a couple of minutes that remain. Huddleston. Aluko, very nimble. A touch from Myler. Here's George Boyd. Still, it's a cross to fight for. That's where Davis, as an auxiliary forward, helps. Aluko! Oh! Well, it looked as Fabianski actually had to dive back a little bit. So much was he caught by surprise.
Well, I'm thinking when I saw him hit it from such a distance that, you know, that's very ambitious. But Fabianski, I don't think saw it until a little later than he would have liked. And that's why, for a moment, everybody thought that was going to creep beyond him.
Mertesacker comes off Boyd's head. Davis trying to get there. Try and force a poor clearance, but in fact he's given away a free kick. It's the last thing that Hull really need.
Yeah, and that might not have helped their cause, but the referee again has viewed it very lightly when Huddleston barged Giroud to the ground and getting the ball back. I said before to you, I think for Arsene Wenger today, I think Ramsey has come up trumps for him yet again, and you're correct, Martin. I think as the referee sorts out this little bit of nonsense. Yeah. I think, you know, had he been around for longer this season, yes, I think Arsenal would have been contention for much more Premier League wise. I think
Aaron Ramsey's been announced as the sponsors man of the match as well. And over the 2 hours, you can't deny Arsenal's right to be in front.
No, I think, yes, after a torrid start, Arsenal have been the better side and have shown that they have the more talented individuals and the greater depth of squad and better calibre all round.
And they're full of running here, as you would be if you're winning. Here comes Rosicky. He's in. Is he going to finish? Well, no, it's not the Arsenal way, is it? He's going to pass it. Why? Jim Wenger's looking at me and saying the same thing. It doesn't matter. Arsene Wenger's 9-year wait is over. Arsenal's 9-year wait is over. The FA Cup final has, in the end, gone to Premier League form, but they were 2-0 down, the Wenger boys, so early. But they turned it around. And Aaron Ramsey has the Wales flag wrapped around him. Bakary Sagna says goodbye, I think, to Arsenal, but what a way to do it. I use this phrase about the League Cup final, about Sunderland and Manchester City. The pride to Hull, the prize to Arsenal.
Without a shadow of a doubt, I think we have to heap great praise on those Hull City players for the way they stayed at it. Yes, they knew they had an exceptional start to this game and that Arsenal were likely to respond, but they made Arsenal work every second of this game to get what they finally achieved. And yes, Arsene Wenger and his players do deserve to lift this trophy now, but I really do feel for the likes of those Hull City players and Tom Huddleston, Curtis Davis, because they could not have given it any more.
Well, Arsene Wenger is the manager that Arsenal kept true to. The board backed him from 2005 here to 2014. The FA Cup was the last trophy. And they didn't play very well that day against Manchester United. They certainly weren't the better side. It went to penalties and they won it. And that is what cup ties are all about. But they were very, very slow out of the blocks here at Wembley today. And goals from James Chester and for Curtis Davis. But Santi Cazorla came along to make it 2-1. And then once Laurent Koscielny just somehow got a bit on it for the equaliser, you did feel that the momentum, is often used word in modern-day football, was with Arsene Wenger and his players, but it took till late in the game, in the second period of extra time. And what a worthy goal to win a cup final, Jim.
It really was. It was an absolute beauty. He'd been probably a little reckless on one or two efforts at goal prior to that, but when that moment came, yes, he struck it with technical perfection. Aaron Ramsey, and yes, it's done the trick for Arsenal again, and it was a long wait. And we did say at the start as well, Martin, that it probably was one of these finals that Arsene Wenger dare not lose, because immense criticism would have followed. But I've always loved watching his teams, the style of football, and I'm pleased to see them get another trophy. And I think overall, as hard as it is for Hull to take, Arsenal do merit the victory.
Well, winning and losing does matter to those involved in the profession. Their careers, their lifestyles hang on it. But when you support a club, you have to take both those twin imposters, don't you, side by side, and you have to have the pain to get the game. And Hull, it's been a wonderful season. I saw their first game, Jim, at Chelsea. They started the Premier League, they got overrun first 20 minutes, they were 2-0 down. They brought on Livermore and Huddleston for the second half, just arrived in the camp, and Steve Bruce thought, well, I've got to give the lads who've got us promotion a chance. And from then on, almost, they bedded into the Premier League and deservedly stayed and had this cup run as well.
Yeah, and obviously the cup run is a lovely bonus. It's a shame they faded a little at the end in the Premier League, but listen, their status being secured was the most important thing, and it's fine, yeah. I like watching Hull City because Steve Bruce is trying to get them to play the Arsenal brand of football, if you like, with lesser quality. But I just think, again, talking about Arsenal needing to maybe buy a little more up front, I think Steve Bruce could probably do with something like that. But let's see how Long and Jelavic, of course, who were ineligible today, being cup-tied, how they develop next season, and hopefully they give more power to that Hull City attack. But certainly Hull City are going in the right direction, and even though they lose here today, Martin, it has to give them good confidence too.
They can go up with their heads held high to get their runners-up medals, and a lot of the fans are staying, of course, to see this moment, and I hope those Hull fans stay for Arsenal as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. Greg Dyke passing the medals to the Duke of Cambridge, and the representatives of the Arsenal board there as well. Well, their previous best in the FA Cup, 1930, a semi-final beaten by Arsenal. Now they reach the final, and who do they come up against again today? Not just an Arsenal, but an Arsenal for whom failure was unthinkable, really. And when they were wheeling around in celebration to the goals from James Chester and Curtis Davis, we did think we had a huge upset on the cards. And listen to the roar as Steve Bruce appears. He's been up there for winners' medals and a losers' medal as a player. He lost in '95 and Everton beat Manchester United.
he's been part of a final as manager, and he said it's even more gratifying than doing it as a player. It feels more satisfying to be able to negotiate that, and he had to do some hard work at half-time in the semi-final too, when they were behind to Sheffield United, Martin, and he sorted that out to win it 5-3 and get here today. And losing semi-finals, and I have lost an FA Cup semi-final, is a horrible, horrible experience.
I think he was such a fine player that he had to work hard at his reputation as a manager. He had a lot of different clubs, but he certainly got that career back on track and only enhanced it with how he set out Hull today, and how close he came to pulling off the very difficult. But it is Arsenal's day.
The winners' medals and trophy were now replaced in the royal box by Lance Corporal Daniel Dickinson, Senior Aircraftsman Danny Dixon, Staff Sergeant Clint Sherritt, and Chief Petty Officer Stevie Doyle.
It's a lovely way to win it too. I mean, I know Arsenal wouldn't have liked to have been 2-0 down.
This is interesting. Thomas Vermaelen, the club captain, is going up. Now, the players must have had that in mind beforehand.
It's a nice touch, because he hasn't had huge involvement this season either.
And the captain on the day is following him. But this is a day when defeat was not only unpalatable, it really was unthinkable for Arsenal Football Club. They have rediscovered their winning ways. Just to remind you again, a record equalling 11th triumph in the FA Cup, matching Manchester United, as they have done with their 18th appearance in the final.
To the royal box in 2014.
And Arsene Wenger is revelling in the moment, and you can't blame him.
The winners of the FA Cup with Budweiser 2014 final.
I just wonder what the plan is here for the presentation. The medalists are there. Arteta and Vermaelen are waiting. Maybe they're going to involve the manager as well. Who knows? Puff of the cheeks. There's a moment that sums up how it's been for the professorial French manager today. Has been a long wait for him. Their last success in any competition was in this very tournament in 2005. Their painful wait of 9 years without silverware is over. There's a lot of puffing of cheeks there, as if to say, well, we have done it, but we have done it the hard way. Arsene Lamb, the owner of Hull, paying his compliments. Vermaelen is edging into shot. Arteta is edging into shot. Arsenal have their hands on a trophy again. They are winners of the 2014 FA Cup, even without the lid. And no wonder he got to it very quickly. The somewhat beleaguered but hugely admired manager Arsene Wenger. Jim Beglin, your thoughts on the Arsenal day?
Well, I think they've done remarkably well to come back from a shocking start, and they retained their composure and their belief, knowing that they probably had the quality to come through in the end. I'm very pleased for Arsene Wenger, because I think the teams he has produced over the years in English football, and some of them have been a real joy to watch. And he's had to wait quite a bit for this one to enjoy some success, but it is fully merited on the day.
Atcha Flamini getting in on the act. We haven't seen that smile very often, have we? A lot of the camera shots, particularly over the second half of the season, have been of the grimace, the face of disappointment, the greying hair, the hollowing of the cheeks, and the wondering whether his time had come to an end. A glorious time, but when you look at the silverware he managed to achieve right from the off, really, it came to a shuddering halt in 2005. And when, of course, they left Highbury a year later, so much of the money that could get you a trophy-winning team went into the new ground.
Yeah. I still think, again, maybe when you look back at that side with the Vieiras and the Petits, and I think maybe he needs to kind of add something a little more physical, a little more robust in parts, which might just do the trick for Arsenal again too. But they're not far away, and certainly with the likes of Ramsey fit, Walcott to come back next season, I think they'll be much better for it. And great scenes now, and seeing the players celebrate with the trophy.
Well, they've had to live with it all. The new ground even emphasises it all, because they put up all the winning years of the trophies in the past. And, of course, nothing since the Emirates was opened. Now they will have, when we go for the first Premier League game or early in the new season in August, there will be a new date up there alongside a drawing and etching of the FA Cup. It will say 2014.
Yes, I just wonder as well, and it's not a day for talking about Mourinho or other managers, but I just wonder if he might retract his specialist in failure jibe now, because that was uncalled for and unfair.
In Arsenal, many trusted, the majority trusted, and that trust has been justified. He's going to go back down the way he came, not the way that the players have gone. He's going to leave now centre stage to his team, and they are in the party mood.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, I mean, I was fortunate to win that trophy once upon a time, Martin, and as a Liverpool player, we went behind to Everton as it was that day. We weren't 2 down, we were 1 down, and it was hard enough coming back. So, but it does always give you something extra to come back from a position like that to achieve victory and glory as it is today. Yeah, it makes it that little bit more special.
It's a wonderful win in its own right, but in the context, there's just something on it extra, isn't it?
Yeah, always. Because at one stage, it looked as if it just could be a horror afternoon, a horror evening. It could get away from Arsenal completely. If Alex Bruce was to score with his header and make it 3-0 for Hull City, then who knows how this game would have ended up. But they believed and they came good.
I think someone once asked St Wenger's shirt as a souvenir, and it's not got Arsenal on it anywhere. Except the sweat of the man who has had a bit to sweat about today.
And the fine line between criticism and worship.
Even more so in modern-day football.
Yeah.
The players don't get changed very easily. The chief executives will never vote for themselves being changed, so it's the manager who bears the brunt. And all credit to Arsenal, who have stuck against considerable outcry, certainly from some of the shareholders and a section of the supporters. They back their man, and their man is a winner again, and their team is a winner. Arsenal